And hello everyone and welcome along to another night of TGP2 racing. We are here for round 18 at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix in TGP2. We're joined tonight by Luca in the commentary box. How are you tonight, Luca?
Hello, yeah, great to be here. I'm good, thank you. Been a long day, but I'm looking forward to a good night of racing on TGP2. So, at my favourite track in F1 2021 as well, the Hungaroring. So, this should be a good one.
It should be a good one indeed. The drivers are just coming out in the early stages of this qualifying session. We've got guys like Mike Noon and Jacko out in this qualifying session. Daniel P. Wilnut and Red Bull Kim also out on the circuit as well as everyone goes for their first flying attempts. Going into tonight, we've had one race already tonight in TGB2. I'll just go quickly look at the race result for that. But I think there was a few glitchy issues, so we believe it was Daniel P. Wilnut who won that race from Cena, with Blair in third. Mike Noon finished in fourth, with M. Shep in fifth. Jacko in sixth, Joe in seventh, Chris Johnson in eighth, Mackie in ninth, and Neljak rounded out the top 10. Then we had Michael Keddy, Red Bull Kim, John, Stereogram, and Mick. Those were your finishers from the previous race at the French Grand Prix. As we see, Mike Noon is about to start a flying lap round this Hungaroring circuit. So take us through a lap on board with Mike Noon, please. Oh, I was going to say that, but he's spun coming out the last corner. So
Let's go on board with Jacko.
Yeah, I think maybe go on board Jacko instead then.
Yeah, sure. So coming up to the first corner, you want to be braking around the 175 metre mark, nice and tight in here to make sure you don't take too much curve and open the DRS down into turn number 3, I think it officially is. This one is a long sweeping one. You want to try and stay in tight as possible here. Let the car run out wide, but not too wide so you don't compromise your exit and you run into turn 5, maybe turn 4. So around here, make sure you avoid the outside and nice and tight in here, but don't touch that inside curve because it will spin you around. Coming up to the chicane here, straight braking, and then you want to take a little bit of curve. Don't go over those big sausage curbs because it'll completely upset the car. And again, nice and sweeping through here. Try not to scrub off too much speed and try not to go too wide, but Jacko seems to be doing a good job here. This one is just trying to maintain as much speed as you can without invalidating. He's taking that nicely through there. And then you want to be braking round to the start of the curb here and not taking too much curb and not taking too much out wide there as well. Another tricky corner here, you've got to try and stay in nice and tight to the left and using that runoff of the pit entry as you can, and then you want to take a nice sweeping corner around here. He's taking it nice and tight. Different lines drivers will be taking here, and we're coming up to the line, and what's the time going to be? It's a 1:16.8, which is a good attempt.
Yeah, good start to the session for Jacko in his Ferrari. As we see the drivers starting to tick in times. Mike Noon spinning onto the pit straight. Still managed to do a 17.4, so quite a respectable lap time. Daniel P. Wheelner in the Mercedes, gone quickest so far with a 16.7. As we've got the early stages of this qualifying session. Who are you expecting to be up the front in this session, Luca?
Daniel P. Wheelnut has, I believe, led the title race all season, so I expect him to be up at the front. Jacko as well. Jacko seems to have excellent qualifying pace most of the time. A lot of the time, pipping Daniel P. Wheelnut to that important pole. But yeah, I expect to see Mike as well. And yeah, I think it's just a melee from there on, and whoever seems to have the better qualifying setup or gets the best lap in from back from P3 really. So yeah.
Yeah, that is the key indeed. As you see, Neljak just popping himself into P6 in this qualifying session. Yellow flag, someone's had an incident, looks like one of the McLarens. Blair Grills it is, and he's out of this qualifying session already as Jacko sets another lap and goes back to the top of the timesheets. So we've had about 12 minutes, about 5 minutes in this session so far, and some early runners and riders. Looks like Jacko, Mike Noon and Daniel P. Wilner. Angel versus Jeff in the McLaren. He's just coming out the last corner now. Where's he going to put himself on the grid? With that, he's positionally put himself in P6, Luca.
Yeah, good banker lap in there. I'm sure the drivers will be wanting to get a banker lap in here, considering how difficult these classic circuits can be, especially as you're trying to push the envelope and really get as much lap time as you can. as overtaking can be difficult around the Hungary ring, as we see in real life as well. So, yeah, important track position here.
Yeah, it is indeed. A lot of drivers have completed their first laps in this qualifying session now, and they're all just making their way back to the pit lane, ready to go for a second one. So we're going to have little bit of a lull in this session, I think. I think the only person actually out on anywhere close to a flying lap is Saya Sports at the moment, as Chris Johnson was on a back-off lap, and he's just starting a flying lap now. So, heading down the main straight, DRS is wide open, and how will he get into turn one? Will he get it right? He's done that fairly nicely there, Luca.
Yes, he has, and he's not taking too much of the exit curve, which can really, really dull the speed out of that corner. So keep it nice and tidy around the Hungary ring, and you should expect to get a decent lap time. Let's hope that the traffic doesn't play too much of a part on his lap here, as he seems to be approaching a Williams or an Alpine. I can't quite tell from here. On
Williams
board.
Of Neljak, who spun in front of him.
And that's not going to help his lap time. It's going to be quite distracting, but he seems to be keeping it on the road and keeping the speed up. So hopefully Chris Johnson can continue on with this lap and get some decent lap time here. We'll see from his Sector 2 time if it did affect him at all, but that's the last thing a driver wants when they're on a hot lap.
Yeah, it is indeed. Chris Johnson noticed on that lap just at the start of the sector, actually ran a little bit deep at turn 4, missed the apex by a fair bit. It's a bit of a distraction, that Williams, for him, it seemed like, on this lap. But let's see where he pops himself. Currently about 6 tenths up on his previous best. But that would put him about Neljak, actually, ironically enough, the person who spun in front of him, as we see him come across the line now. And he does a 17.2, and that puts him up to P5.
Yeah, I saw Daniel P. Wheelnut put in a fastest lap there of a 16 flat, nearly 16.1, 4 tenths quicker than Jacko. So maybe just showing a bit more of his cards early on in the session, trying to lay down that marker for the rest of the drivers to go for. And maybe he has more up his sleeve. So Daniel P. Wheelnut looking strong here.
Yeah, Saya Sports just popping himself up into P8 on those medium tyres, down to P9 now, as someone else has improved in front of him. It's Angel versus Death, yes it is. He's just improved and put himself further up in this qualifying session. Meanwhile, we've got about 10 minutes to go, and your order as it stands is Daniel P. Wilner, followed by Jacko, and then Mike New rounding out the top 3, as these guys up the front are getting ready to go for another lap in this qualifying session. Cena also on an in lap, I would say. So just a little bit of a lull in this session at the moment, wouldn't you say, Luca?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the drivers are extracting as much performance as they can out of the tyres, and after maybe 2 laps maximum, they're just no good to set any decent qualifying pace. So drivers also wanting to try and make sure that they get the 3 all-important runs in here to try and get the best that they can out of their lap times, and trying to go as late as possible in the session, as we do see the track evolution coming into play there as well.
Yep, so Jacko just starting another flying lap. He's coming towards turn number 3 on this circuit, and let's see how he does compared to his previous. Currently about, 3 tenths down on Daniel P. Wilner in that battle for pole position. Currently sitting nicely on P2, and what's his first sector is 2 tenths quicker there, Luca.
Yeah, 2 tenths quicker. He's been keeping it nice and tidy. He's got good lines going through these technical sections as well. So we'll have to see how his Sector 2 time fares out. We'll give a good indication as to whether he's going to be challenging for that pole time. But so far, so good by the looks of it.
Yeah, as Matt Shepherd has just put himself up into P5 there, so that's a good run for him. As we see Jacko flying through the second sector now, where all the time can be made. It's another 2.5 tenths. It's not quite going to be on pole, but it's going to be a damn sight closer to Daniel P. Wilner as it stands. Meanwhile, Mike Noon, further back on a flying lap, has got a 10th quicker in that first sector.
Yeah, so Jacko approaching the line here. Let's see what lap time he does. Nice and tight around that final corner. Good exit. So where will he end up? He's 2 tenths up. Seems to have lost a little bit of time there in Sector 3. Looks like he may have had some understeer going onto the back straight.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for him. We've got Mike Noon, who's gained 3 tenths. He needs to find another couple of attempts to be challenging Daniel P. Wilner for pole position in this session provisionally, as he goes round the final couple of corners now. We ride on board with the Williams driver as he ducks and dives his way round these final couple of corners. He don't want to spin here like he did on his outlap on his first attempt, as we were riding on board with him. He goes across the line and he's gone fastest.
Well, he's gone fastest, but I've just been on board with Daniel P. Wheelnut. He's 6/10 up in the first sector, so that is going to be a flying time if he can keep this on the road.
It is indeed, as he heads through turn number 7 now. A little bit wide on the exit there as he heads into the tricky chicane.
Yeah, a little bit wide. He seems to be absolutely pushing the limits, trying to get all of the lap time that he can. Well, hooking those wheels over that inside curb can be beneficial if you do it properly. But let's see if he gets any understeer going through here. No, not too much at all. The car really forgiving, and he seems to have lost that time. He's only 3/10 up now by the looks of it. So a bit scruffy, it looks like.
He's got an invalidated lap, actually.
Yeah, he's invalidated lap, yeah. So that was looking incredibly quick from his first sector time.
Yeah, just waiting to see if anyone else is on a flying lap. It looks like Chris Johnson is also on a flying lap. He's currently on a 17.2, but we're going to switch to Cena in the Alpha Tauri as he heads towards turn 1. He's got a little bit of traffic. He's run very deep there, Luca.
Yeah, as I was switching between drivers there, unfortunately, but he seems to have pulled out of it already.
Yeah, he has. He's definitely done a bit of pulling out there as he right on board. Chris Johnson bouncing his way through the chicane, and he's invalidated that lap as well. Let's see if anyone's on a flying lap. We're going to see what Red Bull Kim can do. Currently down in P13. He's about 2.5 seconds off Mick Schumacher. He'll be looking to close that gap and get himself closer to the rear of the field.
Yeah, he will. He's keeping it nice and tidy going through that chicane and tidy through here, but just doesn't seem to be holding the same kind of pace through the corners as some of the other top drivers are. Maybe a lack of confidence in the setup could be causing that. We just don't know.
Well, he's found nearly 9/10 in that middle sector, so he's doing something to find some time for himself, which is nice to see. Like to see in drivers proving on their current best as he goes towards the last couple of corners now. And what's Red Bull Kim going to do? Come across the line. Is he going to reign on that back row of the grid? We will shortly see, and it does. He's done a 19.6, so lost a lot of time in that final sector.
Yeah, the track is one of those where you've got to have a flow, and if you make a mistake early on in the lap, it unfortunately carries through for the rest of the lap. So I didn't quite see what he was doing early on in the lap, but that could be a playing factor as to why he's still on the back of the grid.
Again, we've hit another bit of a lull in this session with Cena, the only driver out on the circuit, attempted a flying lap at this current time. All the drivers are either in the pits, or in the case of Matt Shepherd, just starting a flying lap, as we see Cena go 2/10 quicker in that first sector.
2/10 quicker. It's not going to gain him any positions at the moment. Down with he's got to gain 5/10 to get into third position here. So let's see what he can do through sector 2. But yeah, the lull has come as drivers are going to be winding up for their final attempts, taking a bit more fuel out of the car if they have overfueled for the moment, and making sure they equip those brand new soft tyres.
Yeah, that is what we are attempting to see. Cena got a little bit quicker again in that middle sector. Can he improve his grid slot? Currently on the 16.7. If he improves by about half a second, he'll put himself in that mix for the front row.
Yeah, for sure. So he's nice and tight coming around the final corner. Will he get a good exit? It's a good exit. What will this time be? He's up to third.
Yeah, he's put himself just in front of Jacko with a 16.2. Matt Sheffield unfortunately invalidated his lap time. As I see indecisive Mackie in 8th place, just starting a flying lap, as now we see the other runners and riders such as Daniel P. Wilnut and Jacko out on outlaps for their final attempts in this qualifying session.
Yep, so Jacko is the first out on the track, so Jacko will be looking to see if he can get that pole time, and maybe it's a good tactic for Daniel P. Wheelnut to be behind him, but Mike Noon's still in the pit, so I'd imagine he may be looking to be the last runner out on the grid to make sure he knows what his benchmark is and what he has to do to get that pole time.
Yeah, he will be indeed. Indecisive Mackie unfortunately has invalidated that lap, so he won't be going any quicker. Hopefully he's got enough fuel to go for another run, otherwise that might be session over for him. Angel versus Death in the McLaren, heading towards turn number 4, tricky corner in the circuit. Very easy to track extend and screw up the exit, and he's 2 temps down, and that's not exactly going to help his attempts. Meanwhile, 2 temps up on his lap is Neljak in 10th place as he comes around the final couple of corners.
Yeah, so 2 temps up. Let's see Oh, is a bit wide on the entrance there, and I don't quite know if that's going to be the correct line there, and he's completely used his deployment. P8 seems to be for the moment.
Yeah, Jacko coming through the first couple of sectors.
Oh,
Oh, he's had
it.
a very scrappy chicane, and that is probably his final attempt in the bin. So we're going to have to watch and see what Daniel P. Wilnut can do, but I think he's going a ride around for a lap and then go for a flyer. So
Yeah,
just
looks
trying to
like
see
it.
if there's anyone on a flying lap. At the moment, I don't think there is.
No, but Mike Noon has now come out for his out lap, so looks like he's conserving his tyres for this run to get the maximum tyre performance for his flying lap.
Yeah, so no one looks like they're on a flying lap at this current time, are they? No. No one on a flying lap at this current time. Jacko's just about to have a second bite of the cherry, and hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake in the hairpin, in the chicane even, that he did last time. So covered across the line to start his final attempt in this qualifying session. We've got less than 2 minutes to go, and the action is definitely heating up, Luca.
It definitely is. Pressure's on. Drivers want that all-important pole around the Hungary ring. So let's see what Jacko can produce in his Sector 1 time. He seems to be keeping it nice and tidy through these corners at the moment, but has he been holding the pace? Let's see. So he's half a tenth up in the Sector 1. That is quite wide. He's invalidated
He's
the lap.
validated, so that's his lap done. Daniel P. Wilnut coming towards the end of Sector 1 now, and he's tenth and a half up through the first sector, so he's looking very good. Mike Noon just starting a flying lap as well. He's coming around the first couple of corners, but we're going to ride on board Daniel P. Wilnut. He goes through that middle sector, very scrappy, but is the lap time still there? We'll see at the second sector split. That's definitely probably cost him a few tenths, and that was a slow run through that corner as well. We'll see the Sector 2 time any second now, and see if he can still challenge for that pole position. And he's a little bit down. That's not what he needed to see at all, Luca.
No, it's not. Mike Noon is only half a tenth up in Sector 1, so this is going to be close for pole.
It is indeed. So we see Daniel P. Wilner in the Mercedes going around the final couple of corners now. Just got one corner to go. Can he salvage the time he lost in that middle sector and try and get himself into pole position? No, he can't. He's improved, but not by enough.
That's
as we see, Mike Noon is improving by 3.5 tenths. Yeah, he is flying, Mike Noon.
He is a little bit scrappy through that corner, but yeah, it looks like Mike Noon, the one who's going to be taking pole here. Let's see if he can improve on his previous time. He can.
Yeah, he's improved by 3 tenths. Massive improvement there from Mike Noon, and he takes provisional pole for the time being, trying to see if anyone else is on the flying lap. We've got Cena in the AlphaTauri. He's in third place. He's massively wide there, so that surely is lap time in the bin. Jacko, did he go for another flying lap? We'll see as he goes through this section now. And is he improving? He's improving by 4 tenths there, Luca.
4 tenths, so Daniel P. Wilnut in trouble here if Jacko can keep it nice and clean going through Sector 3. He's taken a strange line going through there, and he's run quite wide out and had to scrub off a lot of speed. So will he have lost those 4 tenths? Nice and tight coming onto the final pit straight. Nice exit there. What will the time be?
He's
pipped him.
Yeah, he's put himself into P2. Cena just behind on the road. He's improved slightly, but it's not enough to move quick positions. And Chris Johnson's actually pipped him and jumped up into position 4 there. We've got Neljak, who's currently a tenth and a half up. That won't see him move up the grid at the time, but I think he's the only driver left on the flying lap.
Yeah, Daniel P. Wilnut peeling into the pits now, and Mike Noon nowhere near that time, 18 seconds down, so yeah, he's done for the session as well.
Yeah, so that is it for this qualifying session. We've got Mike Noon on pole position in the Williams, and Jacko will be alongside him on the front row. Then we have Daniel P. Wilnut in third and Chris Johnson in fourth. So just waiting for the last of the drivers to head back to the pit lane and start their pre-race preparations. So yeah, we've finished that qualifying session. A strong pole position there for Mike Noon in the Williams. This is when it loads. This is his 5th pole position of the season. Or did he get pole last race? I didn't see. We didn't see that, but if he did get pole his last race, it's his 6th. If he didn't, it's his 5th. But either way, congratulations to Mike Noon on pole for the Williams team. Jacko is in 2nd place in the Ferrari, and then we have Daniel P. Wilnut in 3rd in the Mercedes. Chris Johnson is 4th in the Aston Martin. Then we have Cena in 5th, M. Strap in 6th, Blair Grills in 7th, and Neljak in 8th. Indecisive Mackie in 9th, and Angel vs. Steph in 10th place. Then we've got Mick Schumacher in 11th, Sayer Sports in 12th, Red Bull Kim in 13th, and rounding out the field is Mr. John in the Red Bull, who will be doing his usual tactic and trying to go for driver of the day. So, get ready to go for the Hungarian Grand Prix, round number 18 of the TGP2 season 31. And what are your predictions for this race?
I wouldn't count Daniel P. Wheelnut out for the possible win on this race. He can get lightning starts, from what I've been told, off the start grid. So Mike Noon will have to be checking his mirrors all the way down to turn 1, as it is a relatively long run down to turn 1 as well. But it's all about track position here and picking up from those mistakes when drivers attempt to make them. TGP2, consistency is king in order to win that title. So, so I think it's going to be a good one, and we'll see drivers possibly making those mistakes because of that classic circuit layout.
Yes, that is what we'll be looking to see as we're getting ready to go. Drivers getting their final pre-race preparations underway for round 18 at the Hungary. So the revs are rising, the lights are coming on. We've got 3 lights, we've got 4 lights, we've got 5 lights here in Hungary. And it's lights out and away we go, and it looks like a strong start from the front of the field from Mike Noon, but Jacko's going to try and hassle and harry him. Great start there from the Chris Johnson and Cena as well. Jacko's had actually quite a poor start there, and he's going to get swamped. There's a bit of contact between Cena and a few drivers behind, but it looks like for the most part they're pretty cleanly through the first couple of corners, Luca.
Yeah, Daniel P. Wheelnut getting that lightning start as I predicted, and Jacko just seemed to be bogging down off the start with Chris Johnson and Cena all over the back of him. Relatively clean through the first couple of corners, which is a rarity for Hungaroring, as we tend to see a safety car in the first lap around here. So well done to the drivers for keeping it nice and clean.
Yeah, well done to the drivers indeed, keeping it nice and clean as we head into the middle section of the circuit, the tight and twisty section for the first time. We've got Mike Noon leading, Daniel P. Walnut in 2nd, Jacko in 3rd, Cena's in 4th, and Chris Johnson is rounding out the top 5 as they head through the first couple of corners, and Cena is all over the back of Jacko here.
Yeah, so Cena looks to have the jump here on Jacko in terms of race pace, but one thing to note that I've seen is Daniel P. Wheelnut already a second outside of from the gap there and outside of DRS range already. So Mike Noon understanding how strong the DRS can be if Daniel can get within that range. So yeah, it's all important here to make sure you maintain that track position.
Yeah, Cena passed Jacko at the penultimate corner as well. He got the move done after being forced wide at the previous corner. He kept his foot in it, went up the inside. Get a little bit of argy-bargy as we see Jacko running wide as we ride on board with Chris Johnson in the Aston Martin, as we had a little bit of argy-bargy there, but Cena's up into P3 and Jacko's back down to P4.
Yeah, so Jacko not getting the best of starts here. I don't quite understand what's going on. Maybe he's just set up for a qualifying and not for a race, or he's just not got that rhythm locked in yet for his race pace, but plenty of action also going on the back here. Sayer Sports getting past Angel versus Death, so yeah, it's already spicing up.
It is spicing up indeed, as we see Jacko actually looking for a move on Cena, and that is a very opportunistic move if he made it stick. It's a bit wild and reckless, you may say, go for a move in this section of the track, but he didn't quite get it done, and now he's all over the back of Cena once again. Maybe he's a bit frustrated with the argy-bargy the previous lap. He once again runs wide. That's twice this lap we've seen Jacko do that.
Yeah, it is. It seems to be frustrations are coming in, and Jacko making a very early pit stop. Has he got damage?
I think he might have some front wing damage, and that might be where the frustrations lie, as we see him peel into the pits. The DRS is enabled this lap, but Jacko is either going for a super undercut. Meanwhile, we've got Neljak and Mick Schumacher battling side by side in towards turn 1. Mick Schumacher running deep. They're going to be side by side on the exit, as we see the two drivers, the Red Bull and the Williams, heading towards turn 3. And who's going to be the victor this time round? They're still going to be side by side on the exit, but I think Mick Schumacher has just about got the move done. Yes, he has.
Mick Schumacher placed his car perfectly there, running relatively deep into the corner, forcing Neljak to take the long way around. And he seems to be the quick riser during this race. 6 places already gained from the start. So he's on the move, and he's not the patient kind to be waiting an opportunistic strategic moment.
Yeah, that is not ideal indeed, as we see the drivers of Mick Schumacher, Neljak and Sayer Sports running 5th, 6th and 7th. It's kind of calmed down towards the front end of the field. The closest battle on track at the moment is the 2 McLarens of Angel versus Death and Blair Grills battling for P8 and P9.
Yeah, teammate on teammate action here. Daniel P. Wheelnut well outside that DRS range, as is Cena, so drivers seem to be settling down, maybe trying to save some tyres to try and extend the soft tyre stint here, as the medium tyres can be a bit sketchy getting straight onto them when you come out of the pits, and getting used to that new handling model that the mediums provide. But Blair Grill's right on the back. He's managed to get past Angel versus Death here. Angel versus Death seems to be having a moment coming out of turn 1, so not great, and he's got indecisive Mackie all over the back. Oh gosh, that was a very close one. I thought Mackie was going to lose a front wing there.
It's very close indeed. Meanwhile, speaking of very close, Mr. John being very wild on the exit of turn number 3, using all of the track and then some, very much on the grass. He's trying some rallycross there, and he stays in P11 for the time being, as indecisive Mackie is looking all over the back of Angel versus Death in the battle for P9 and P10.
Yeah, indeed. The drivers are going to be thinking about their tyre strategies and their pit strategies now. Will they wait for an all-important safety car that does tend to happen around the Hungaroring, extending that initial stint to see if that'll come, or will they just dive in and hope for the performance so that they can gain that track position if the safety car does come out?
Yeah, so heading through these last couple of corners, right on board with indecisive Mackie, as we see further ahead. There's a bit of a queue forming behind Neljak in the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th.
Indeed, DRS trains are common round the Hungaroring, and I think we're seeing one forming now.
Yeah, we are indeed. Sayer Sports going to look to close the gap on Neljak. We've got to move further down the field as indecisive Mackie dives to the inside at turn number 1 on Angel versus Death. They're going to be side by side on the exit. And is the move going to stick for him? Yes, it is. He's going to have the move well and truly secured going into turn number 3.
Yeah, Angel versus Death looking to see if he could get that outside line, but it's quite difficult to make that stick, especially around turn number 2, 3. He's burnt through all of his ERS as well, so he's going to be on the back foot there.
He is going to be on the back foot indeed. Meanwhile, there's a 3-car scrap definitely forming 6th, 7th and 8th. Pretty much line of Sedan. Neljak having a bit of a wild ride through that section as Blair Grills looking all over the back of the median shod Sayer Sports in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, one thing to also note as well, Daniel P. Wheelnut has reduced that gap from 2 seconds almost down to 1.2 seconds. So maybe Mike Noon has made a slight mistake here. Maybe Daniel P. Wheelnut is starting to mount an attack, ready for those pit stops. This is not over, this race at the front.
No, it isn't. It's not over at the front. It's not over in the midfield scrap either. Has Cena appeared? Or, yeah, Cena's into the pit lane there. So Blair Grills, it's all over the back of Sayer Sports though, but is he going to be close enough to try and make a move into turn 1? It's going to be a bit of a lunge the way it's going, as they're both closing on Neljak with the DRS. He's not quite close enough, and he has to settle in behind for the time being.
Indeed, Sayer Sports on the alternate strategy there, so P6 isn't too bad. He's gained 6 positions from the start as well, so maybe a couple of drivers have pitted already, but that's good going from Sayer Sports. And if a safety car does come out, he will have advantage of those brand new soft tyres.
He will indeed, but it's the safety car's got to come out at the right time, because the soft tyres do wear fairly quickly around this track, Luca.
They certainly do. Drivers at the front here, lap 6, probably looking to switch over to the mediums relatively soon to do 9, 10 laps, maybe even 11 laps on those medium tyres, as the soft tyres do, as you say, wear quickly, especially as they're used in qualifying. And this track is a tyre killer at times.
It is. Yeah, it is indeed. That middle sector is not conducive.
And Daniel P. Wheelnut's in the pits.
Okay, Daniel P. Wheelnut in the pits. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out. Has Cena got a decent undercut on him? We'll find out shortly, but we're still riding on board with the Aston Martin and the Sayer Sport as Neljak peels into the pit lane, and so does the McLaren behind of Bear Grylls. So it's coming to pit stops time for the lot of the front runners.
It is indeed. Cena coming around the final corner now. So will Daniel P. will not be able to get out in front of him as Cena is defending hard from Jacko. And it looks like Daniel has managed to do it. Stay in front of Cena. So maybe Cena hit some traffic. Maybe that undercut not working well as Jacko has, he's a bit of argy-bargy there and driving Cena out wide on that exit. And now Jacko having to defend hard, but it looks like he's got the move done.
Yeah, a bit of very much a dive bomb there from Jacko. Just about got it done. He was basically all the way in front, heading towards the corner, but he's got Cena all the way behind him. This is the battle for P8 and P9 on the road currently. But once the stops round out, this is probably the last podium spot, wouldn't you say, Luca?
Yes, indeed. I'm just looking at the gap between Daniel P. Wheelnut and Mike Noon. It's just under 22 seconds now. I can't remember how long the pit lane is around here, but that could be cutting it fine. Mike Noon possibly losing some performance on those old soft tyres.
I believe it's about maybe 21 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that. So as it stands, I think he'd just come out in front, but he's, like you said, cutting it fine with the Mercedes driver as he peels into the pit lane now. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does. Got a ride on board with Daniel P. Wheelnut coming through the last couple of corners, and he'll just be looking to see that Williams peeling out of the pit lane as MSET picks up a 3-second time penalty.
As Daniel P. Wheelnut is coming, this is going to be tight coming on the pit. No, it's not, sorry. From camera angle. Does this, Cody? It gives me a terrible camera angle and makes it look like it isn't. But, yeah, so Mike Noon, nearly 2 seconds ahead. So those pit stops have worked out well for him. And Daniel P. Wheelnut, let's hope he's kept something in the tank in order to be able to fight for this win with Mike.
Yeah, as we see Cena coming round the final. Well, he's coming into the middle sector now. He's all over the back of Jacko in this scrap for the final podium spot, potentially. As you see Cena probably a bit miffed at the way Jacko got past him, as the way he's closing in on the brakes there. He wanted to get so close to his rear end just to send a message probably. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, you've got to be patient coming through here as there isn't really anywhere to overtake. You can try an opportunistic move, but you got to do it cleanly. As Cena right on the back of him, he could actually make a move here. He's alongside now, but Jacko has that inside line and breaks that little bit later. But Jacko in trouble here, coming onto the back straight for sure.
Well, he's coming onto the main straight. He's just got a couple of corners to go, and they'll be completing another lap around this Hungary ring circuit. It's the battle for a net P3 on the road. It's Cena, it's Jacko. Jacko's not going to have the DRS to defend. Cena's going to have the DRS wide open, going to be using the overtake. Down the inside he goes, and will he be able to get the move done? It'd be very close if that car coming out the pit lane would be coming any sooner. Jacko trying to spring a surprise on the braking zone, dive back up the inside, maybe scare and punk Cena into going for a move as Jacko looks to the inside once again. A little bit of contact there. That was a little bit ambitious from Jacko as he just about gets away with that.
Yeah, that was a bit squeaky bum moment there with Jacko. Not really a place that you should be dive bombing, as it can just take both of you out. Unfortunately, as there's Blair Grills looks to have had a moment and spun on the back straight on the straight coming up to turn 4. So don't know quite what happened there, but he's got dirty tyres and he's trying to get back up. But that's unfortunate for Blair Grills.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. He's dropped down all the way down to 12th place now. So a bit of disaster for him. He's looking like he's making his way through the field quite nicely, but he's had that spin and he's dropped back. The only person I think yet to pit in this race is Sayer Sports on those medium tyres. As we see, he's getting closed in at a rate of knots at the moment by Mike Noon on the fresh mediums.
Yeah, so it looks like Sayer Sports' tyre performance has completely dropped off the cliff. Mike Noon on a charge. He's 3.7 seconds ahead of Daniel P. Wheelnut as well. So maybe Mike Noon just trying to put in those fastest laps to create a buffer so he can comfortably cruise home for the win.
Yeah, that's what he'll be looking to do indeed. So still the closest battle on this circuit is Cena and Jacko battling over this potential. Yes, it will be the potential final podium spot once Sayer Sports peels into the pit lane. As Cena's starting to gap him a little bit now.
Yeah, Cena looking to keep the championship title alive there. Main rival to Daniel P. Wheelnut for that driver's title. And Jacko obviously wanting to get as many points as he can to place as high as he can in that driver's title as well. So he's not going to let this one go easily.
No, he is not indeed. So We're on lap number 10, coming towards lap number 11 here at the Hungary ring. This race has definitely settled down compared to what it was looking like in the early stages of this race. And with only one real overtaking opportunity as well. You have to be patient on this circuit, Luca.
You certainly do indeed. Asea Sports peels into the pits now finally to take those soft tyres. So Mike Noon will take the lead here with Daniel P. Wheelnut in second place. 4.2 seconds for... sorry, the interval went a bit crazy there. He was 4 seconds behind Mike Noon, and Cena. Is he closing a gap up to Daniel P. Wheelnut?
Meanwhile, sorry, Jacko's dived up the inside of Cena, going into turn one. A little bit of wheel banging going through the corner. This isn't NASCAR, Jacko, as we see them going through turn number 3. Cena just about holding on, but he's going to try and get the cutback, and Jacko once again making contact with the rear end of Cena. What does he think he's driving? A car with bumpers and a fender? I don't know. What is he doing?
No idea. He's got an aggressive style for sure, Jacko has, and that can play into your hands at times. But around a technical circuit here, where your front wing is probably the most important part of the car to keep nice and clean, it's definitely a risky strategy.
It is a risky strategy indeed. It's wheel banging, Robbins' racing, you name it, all the terms you'd find in NASCAR, and Jacko's putting them on full display here at the current moment in time. Meanwhile, further down the field, going to take a quick peek further down as we see Mr. John is actually closing in on the back of Indecisive Mackie. These two drivers, of course, not best of friends off the circuit, and it could get spicy.
Yeah, Mick Schumacher has just had a moment going onto the back straight there. He's completely lost his front wing, unfortunately. Didn't quite see that, but looks like he's just spun into the barriers and managed to keep it from a DNF. So, he's going to dive into the pits here. Probably take the soft tyres and get a front wing replacement.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're going to ride on board Mr. John. He's going to have the DRS, but I think Mackie has too. So they've both got to cancel each other out as they head towards turn number 1. As Mr. John stays in 9th place. Jacko's picked up a 3-second time penalty, so that's probably ruined his run at the podium in this race, wouldn't you say, Luca?
Oh, for sure. That's so unfortunate. It was good watching Cena and Jacko fight it out on the road, but even if Jacko gets past now, he's going to have a mammoth task to try and get past that 3-second time penalty. So, unfortunate one there. So, unless something drastically happens in this race, and this is TGP2, anything can happen. I think this is going to be the top 3 set.
Well, you say it's something drastic needs to happen. Cena is now less than a second behind Daniel P. Wheelnut, as Daniel P. Wheelnut has lost a lot of time in this second stint of the race to Mike Noon.
He has, yeah, and he's got to be careful with Cena breathing down his neck now, and the championship all to play for. So unless Daniel P. Wheelnut, it looks like he's been saving a lot of ERS. He's got 65% ERS compared to Cena's 14. So Daniel looks like he's just been saving that ERS a bit, just waiting to see if any challenge will mount from behind.
Yeah, that is probably what he is waiting for. We're riding on board with Cena as he goes through the first couple of corners in the AlphaTauri now, and he's getting closer to the back of Daniel P. Wheelnut, but Jacko is still all over the back of him with his 3-second time penalty. Mr. John still all over the back of Indecisive Mackie, and maybe going for a move on this second stab at the DRS, head towards turn number 3.
Yeah, it looked like he didn't get the best of runs coming out of turn 1 there, and it just compromised his DRS run coming into turn 2. So that's unfortunate. So Mr. John just needs to take a breath, see what he can do on the next lap.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you can do on the next lap. Jacko's still all over the back. Oh, Cena getting closer and closer to the back of Daniel P. Wheelnut as well. So it's all crescendo in nicely as we get towards the grandstand, the end of the race.
Yeah, Daniel P. Wheelnut probably thinking about the championship here and not pushing it too much in order to keep it on the road. Cena obviously being forced to push a bit harder with Jacko breathing right down his neck. And Cena, the one at the disadvantage here, only 22% ERS compared to Jacko's 35, and Daniel P. Wheelnut still with 50% ERS. So Cena the one at risk here.
Yeah, Cena is the one at risk as we look down the field. Jacko just about holding on to the time being. Cena is getting closer and closer to the back of Daniel P. Wheelnut. Can he challenge him and take that second place off him? Meanwhile, Mr. John also looking for a move. He's all over the back of Indecisive Mackie as we see a guy running slowly in the final sector. Mr. John down the inside. He looks like he's going to get the move done, and he's got to go up into position 8.
I'm just looking to see how many track extension warnings Cena has. He has 2 already, so he's going to have to be careful. He is close to getting that 3 seconds.
Oh, he's very much argy-bargy. Sorry to interrupt you there. There's definitely some wheel banging go through turn number 3. As you see, Mr. John misses braking point slightly, slide-wise into the side of Mackie, and then nearly lose it on the inside. Mackie tries to get the cut back, and then nearly loses it himself with some more wheel banging on the exit. Very much like Grosjean and Rahal in Barber in the IndyCar race a couple of weeks ago.
Sounds like some great car control from the drivers there, but Cena now closing the gap quite a lot here to Daniel P. Villeneuve, 6 tenths and 5 tenths Jacko behind. Obviously feeling that pressure, but Cena must be very careful not to get that extra track extension warning, because it will be a 3-second time penalty, as I was saying before. So lots of pressure on Cena here. Can he handle the pressure?
Can he handle the pressure? Indeed. I think he's just run into the back of Daniel P. Wilnut there, actually. And of course, he's driving without a helmet, like Phil Bardrow was last night. As a bit of disaster. Jacko's been very opportunistic there, diving up the inside of turn 3, but Cena slams the door shut on the exit of turn number 4.
Well, as Jacko looking for a very ambitious move through there to turn 4, and nothing playing at the moment, but Jacko all over the back of him, almost changing gear for Cena. So Cena really must be feeling the pressure at the moment, and let's see if he can keep a cool head for the remaining 3 laps of the race.
Yeah, meanwhile, further back, Angel versus Death has got past Indecisive Mackie. He's down into P10 now, Mackie. Angel versus Death up to P9. But Jacko is basically pushing Cena around the circuit, and that's invited Chris Johnson into this battle.
I thought Jacko was going to lose the back end there. I thought that was his race over, but he managed to hold it somehow. This is how hard he's pushing to try and get past Cena, as he's taking an almost opportunistic move to come around the outside, and he's managed to make it stick. He will get the DRS as well, so Cena in trouble here with Chris Johnson also taking advantage.
No, he didn't
here.
get the DRS. Cena did. Cena did the DRS on him. I think he did the Leclerc at Saudi Arabia. So Cena looking to the outside, going into turn number 1. Chris Johnson hoping these two drive into each other like they have numerous of times in this race and take the position. Can he get the job done, Cena? No, not quite.
No, but it looks like Jacko has got that all-important position now coming through turn 3. And he is dropped quite significantly back compared to Chris Johnson on the back of him here. So Cena, 8% ERS with Chris Johnson on 45. So yeah, he's looking in trouble still here. And this is going to be music to Daniel P. Wheelnut's ears in terms of the championship.
It is indeed, as we follow on board with Chris Johnson as he flicks through the twisty section here at the Hungaroring with only a couple laps to go in this race. Can he get the move done on Cena? Cena looks like he's really starting to struggle in this race. After looking so quick and so dominant, he's going to have Chris Johnson dive up his inside, and they're going to be side by side towards the end of the lap, and Chris Johnson's pulled the move off.
Yeah, some great driving there from Chris Johnson. Maybe Cena has a little bit of front wing damage that we can't quite see on the cameras here, and that's the reason he's dropping back, or his tyres have completely fallen off the cliff. But as I said before, this is only helping Daniel P. Wheelnut with his championship fight. And but at the moment, Jacko needs to pull out a bit more of a gap in order to try and create that gap to Cena. Cena picks up a 3-second time penalty, so it looks like Jacko is going to finish ahead of Cena as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, but he looks like he's going to lose out on that podium spot. But we've hardly spoken about him since the start of the race. Mike Noon, with a lap and a half to go on the medium tyres. Yes, he's picked up a 3-second time penalty, but it's not going to make a difference in his result. He's 9 seconds up the road. So Mike has just been quite dominant in this race.
He has, yeah. He dispatched Daniel quite early on in the race, and he's just shown a dominant performance here, keeping nice and clean laps coming in, holding fastest lap times as well. So Mike Noon really showing that's how the Hungaroring should be driven.
Yeah, he is indeed, as he comes around the final corner for the penultimate time in this race. He will take the white flag, sponsored by Credit One Bank, as they would say in NASCAR, but in this there's no white flag. He's coming across the line to start his final lap, Luca.
He is, yeah. So he's just cruising by the looks of things. He doesn't want to get another 3-second time penalty and put that potential cruising speed in jeopardy, but Yeah, he, as I said, just cool, calm, and collected. Nice, dominant performance here around this very tricky and technical circuit. And Mike Noon showing us all how it's done.
Yeah, just got to ride on board with Mr. John. The only real battle left on the circuit. Mr. John may be trying to nick P7, but I think he's going to be too far back to realistic make a move as a yellow flag in sector 1 for one of... It's Chris Johnson! Chris Johnson's binned it! He's binned it!
Unbelievable.
Where's he binned it? He's binned it coming out of turn number 4. That's a disaster. That was a nailed on podium for him. He just needed to keep inside Jacko's 3 seconds and he would have had the podium, but he's binned it coming out of turn 4. And that is a strong result for the Aston Martin driver down the toilet. Meanwhile, we ride on board with Mike Noon in the Williams. 2 corners to go in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Round 18 of TGP2, season 31. Going around the last couple of corners now. He comes round the final corner for the last time in this race and he takes the checkered flag. And yes, he takes the checkered flag. Sorry, my screen went black as he crossed the line there. So I don't know what happened there, but he crossed the line, took the checkered flag and has taken the victory. Daniel P. Wheelnut's going to come home in P2 with Jacko in P3, who's actually caught him right at the end of that race. Cena is going to come home in P4 and Sayer Sports will come home in P number 5. Then we have Neljak, who's going to hold off Mr. John to the end of this race. He's going to come home in P6. And then we are going to have Mr. John in P7. Indecisive Mackie coming home in P8 for Alpine. It's just come around the last couple of corners now, Luca. Then we've got Angel versus Death, Mick Schumacher, Blair Grills, and, well, Blair Grills is actually getting caught by M-Shep towards the end of this race. Mick Schumacher and Angel versus Death are doing, I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. There's a few shenanigans going on, but Blair Grills, is he going to hold off M-Shep to the line? We'll see now. Just got one more corner to go. He's going to hold him off, and he's going to come home in P11. Angel versus Death going to come home in P10, and Matt Shepherd rounding out the points as Red Bull Kim finishes a lap down. So it was a decent race, not the most exciting race in the world. There was some battles to go through the field though.
Yeah, so just an observation I made from the end of that. As Sayer Sports gets the driver of the day, Mr. John will not be happy with that, but great result there from Sayer Sports, if I have to say so. But yeah, Daniel P. Wheelnut may have run out of fuel coming across the line, which is why Jacko was able to catch up so quickly. So really pushing the limits of his fuel there, and maybe the reason he was going so slow throughout the race.
Yeah, maybe was the reason indeed. As we see the drivers celebrating on the podium. Mike Noon taking victory here in TGP2. Daniel P. Wheelnut in second and Jacko in third place. Williams, Mercedes, Ferrari on the podium here in TGP2 with just 2 races to go. And the title fight is heating up some more. So we're going to have the final results for you now. Mike Noon takes the victory for Williams with Daniel P. Wheelnut in second. Then we've got Jacko in third. Cena in 4th. Sayer Sports rounded out top 5. Then we've got Neljak in 6th. Mr. John in 7th. Indecisive Mackie in 8th. And Mick Schumacher in 9th. Angel versus Death rounded out top 10. Then we've got Blair Grills 11th. M-Shep in 12th. Chris Johnson in 13th. And Red Bull Kim in 14th. So that was a decent race. And what are your takeaways after that race?
It's a decent race, and Daniel P. Wheelnut extending his title advantage out at the front there, with Cena not quite being able to get those points, unfortunately. So Daniel P. Wheelnut in a strong position here, but Mike Noon, he is the man who was the dominant force around the Hungaroring, and great result from Sayer Sports starting P12 on the grid there to finish P5.
Yeah, great result indeed. So that has been it for your racing tonight in TGP2 season 37. We've just got 2 more races to decide the championship here in TGP2, and we'll be joining you next week for those. But any last words before we sign off, Luca?
No, I mean, all I'm going to say is that it's going to get even spicier as we get into the final week of TGP2. Advantage Daniel at the moment, but Cena not to be counted out just yet, as we always say, anything can happen in TGP2.
Yeah, so we will see you next time in TGP2 for rounds 19 and 20, the final 2 rounds of the season from Belgium and Great Britain. But that is all for now. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on PS5.